to MarkWHO77, the web interview show on the 77 Publications YouTube page, where we interview British comic creators and especially ones that are connected to the 77. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten. With me today are Vicky Jakubowski and the editor-in-chief of the 77 Publications, Ben Cullis. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hey there.
So do we want to talk about the weather?
Nah, skip it.
Skip the weather. Let's get this.
It's officially too hot everywhere.
It is, yes, it's too hot. We've got a jam-packed, what's the phrase? A show jam-packed with goodness. There we go. And we want to fit it into our schedule because we're 9 to 5 people, and it's already 12:30, and that's 9 to 5. Yeah, we're already out of time. Bye, everyone. No. Ben, why don't you introduce our guest?
Yeah, our show is jam-packed full of Andrew Richmond goodness tonight, okay? Andy has been in comics longer than most people have been around. He is a doyen of the British independent scene. He happens to hold a very important position with regards to an art editor and contributor to these 3 comics on our roster. So Blazer with Steve MacManus. This comic is Haunted with Dave Bedford, and Jo Heeley's Pandora. So he's contributed strips to them, but he's also the art editor. He's working on several new books. He's constantly got something on Kickstarter with other organizations. He's very much in demand. And we have a new project as well for the 77 Publications based upon, well, we'll let Andrew discuss that in a minute. All I will say, this show will be brought today by the letters T and T.
I am so excited about this announcement. I need to make a gap in my teeth a little bit, but we'll get there.
I'm going to have a cigarette.
You're going to have a cigarette, yeah. You cad.
You founder.
You cad. Yeah, and so let's bring on Andrew Richmond. Welcome, Andrew. How are you doing today?
Hi there, Mark. Good to see you. Yeah. No,
yeah.
It's all good. I've got a crying baby upstairs, but she's gone to bed early, and I don't think she likes it.
I've got a crying cat outside the door, but we can just ignore that. So, Andrew, welcome aboard MarkWHO77.
Hi there.
So, Andrew, you've been on MarkWHO42's universe before, so this is basically seeing you again for the first time.
Yeah, hi there. Welcome again for the first time. Yeah, so it's the first solo outing. So I think I was on before for either Pandora or Haunted, and then also with Mad Girl. But this time, it's racking up a lot of projects that I've been involved in.
Yes.
In fact, I have to have posters behind me, Andy, to you remember which ones that you do for us.
Yeah, all of them. All of them.
Yeah, well, that's right. I selected these especially to get your ones. Yeah.
So that's for the 77, but there's
that's
many.
what we're chatting about. That remember?
Oh,
so
I mean, we'll chat about other things.
We're going to chat about other things too, but
no, of course
we have other interests. You know?
We do.
That is true.
Okay, now Andrew, I have the hardest question of the interview. This is to get it out of the way. And we ask this to everybody. This is the most important and hardest question. Who is Andrew Richmond?
Bon viveur, father, artist, lover.
You're the first person to actually
You
answer
are a
that.
father, so that's kind of understandable, right?
Mainly an artist, mainly a father, lover of comics, lifetime lover of comics and sci-fi and horror. But predominantly a creator of stuff. So be it my daily sketch that I do in the morning, or the day job where I design magazines, and then in those little cracks in time where I seem to be able to do all these comics as well.
Yeah, I invariably message you about 3 times a day, don't I?
Yeah, there's a request that, oh, this has not worked. Can you fix it? Yeah, no problem. Give me a minute.
He's great. Andy always starts every point with "that's no problem." Isn't that an amazing kind of attitude to have?
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I wish I had that.
He's a go-to
And secretly, his eyes are rolling into the back of his head, going, again.
No, but that's why he fits in with us at the 77 and is part of the 77, because he's a go-to guy who's got a kind of, can get it sorted attitude. We don't stop dreaming about what we're going to do, and we're going to keep on, ramping it up. So he's part of the show, really.
But also my main goal with life is that on my deathbed, I do the last greatest piece of work. So the whole idea of life is to improve with everything you do. And you keep going until you're 100.
You're going to have to answer your phone because I'll be messaging you.
I'm talking another 50 years.
He'll still be messaging you in another 50 years.
Yeah. But that's the point I'm trying to make, is that I think we just have to seize it all. And if you are creating friendships and bonds and creative partnerships, run with it, because I've had quite a few non-starter partnerships over the years that it fizzles out for whatever reason. But the thing with Ben and the 77 is that hasn't happened. This has been over 3 years now. And we have a good working relationship. And I have started to think I do have to say no more, because
but
I've been having
to the other people.
Yeah, everyone else gets no. Ben, yes.
Yeah, but I keep giving you great projects.
You do.
We'll talk about another one in a minute, but from the moment I chatted to you, I knew that you were the person I should call first. It was karma. It was karma that led me to you. There were 3 people on my list. Now, you might not know this, Andy, but you were the first person. Actually, you were the second, but you were the first person who answered me.
You're the second,
you're my first, you're my last.
You're my everything.
You're my only.
This is a love fest.
Yeah. The MarkWHO77 Love Fest here on YouTube.
Well, what he does, he's got a list of how much people charge, and it's sort of like a pie chart.
It's like, this one today.
That's the one. How much time will it take? How much? Well, no, it's. I mean, this project that Ben, that we actually started talking about it just before Lawless, didn't we? So Lawless was the end of May, which obviously the 77 sponsored, and had a fantastic presence there. But yeah, I mean, shall we carry on talking about it now? Or?
Absolutely. So
why not? I want to know, what are we talking about?
Today's chat been brought by then, Andy? You want to correct me? I said T and T. You're going to say
T-T.
That works.
Mark mentioned something about a gap in the teeth, and I was smoking a cigarette and saying bounder.
And then I called you a cad.
A cad. So at Lawless, Ben introduced me to a very good family friend of his called Richard, and he was actually at this gentleman's deathbed.
Oh.
So the gentleman in question was an actor from the 60s, 70s, etc., called Terry Thomas.
Woohoo!
And Terry Thomas is in some fantastic films. He's on Talking Pictures over in England quite a lot.
I've actually noticed that when I go through the guide.
They even had the Abominable Dr. Phibes on.
Yeah.
The other week, where he gets desanguinated. And he's there with a cranking. I don't know if you remember that bit, but Terry Thomas is cranking the projector.
Yeah. Projecting
onto a sheet, some Cleopatra saucy lady. And then Vincent Price breaks in and takes all his blood. but that's not really what he was notable for. But
oh my God,
Richard was present, and I because of Ben, I met Richard Hope-Hawkins, and he's an incredible man. Fantastic stories. I mean, you guys would have just sat there like me with your mouth agog, and he also did
drops in, doesn't he, Andy?
The name
drops into conversation. I was with such and such and such a person, and you're like, wow.
When Phil Collins
So
phoned
and so
me and
turned up,
said,
and you're like, pardon?
yeah, yeah, and he basically, I mean, Ben obviously can do the story much better than me because it's personal to him, how he met, Richard and stuff. But the conversation we had is basically going to be the backbone of this book that we're going to put together. So it's going to be a very interesting project for myself and Ben and the 77, in so much that it's not necessarily a comic book. We've called it Terry Thomas, A Life in Pictures.
Mhm.
Ooh.
So it's got the double meaning currently.
Right.
So I'm having quite a lot of text in there. So this is no good for radio, but it's going
Well,
to
no,
be
but
a
this isn't radio. This isn't radio.
Yeah, we're
We are
video
on
today.
so we can show the
TV.
book.
We're on
It's
web
TV.
TV. Yeah.
So Ben's not seen this yet, but this morning I put together a little mock-up.
Oh wow.
I've
I can
actually
see
done
that.
the paginated book for me to put all my notes in and to start doing the comic strips. So it's going to have, currently has 7 chapters,
Mhm.
and it's going to have Richard, 2 pages of Richard's text,
Right.
heavily illustrated with his sort of scrapbook pieces.
Oh,
So he's got a lot
wow.
of personal photos and bits and pieces of Terry. And then I'm going to put in 5 pages of comics that I'm going to write and draw of his certain section of his life. It's, as I say, it's not a biography. It's just it's almost like a little, because people have spoken to people and they go, who? I'm going, he was like the most successful British actor in Hollywood. He's the first millionaire British actor in Hollywood.
If they don't know who he is, let's say it's an American, has no idea. If you'd seen It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, you would have seen him.
Or
if you
the
had
Dairymen and the Jaunty Jalopy.
Yes.
That's one of my favorites.
If you had seen, and I really don't know why you would have missed this, Munster Go Home. You would have seen him. His voice was in Robin Hood, the Disney.
Yes, one of our
animated
favorite
movie.
Disney movies from 1973.
And the last remake of Bo Guest with Marty Feldman. So, I mean, he's done a lot of things for Hollywood.
Oh, my God.
And then, did you ever see, now I haven't seen this yet. I have it. I haven't watched them yet. I've been very interested in watching the Saint Trinian movies. And I know he's in Blue Murder at Saint Trinian. And I wish I had had time to watch it before I got on the air with you. But, it's on my to-do list very highly.
So these are all the sort of, basically, it's still very early days in the creation of this book. And the way my brain works is I'm still formulating, because I'm doing, as I said, 7 5-page sections of comic strip. Mm-hmm. Now the book itself is only going to be small, so it's smaller than manga. It's a Penguin paperback size.
Oh.
It's going to be that size, so it's a paperback novel, if you like. So it's hopefully going to be printed on newsprint with that authentic feel to it.
Yeah.
Well, you said it's going to be an artifact, isn't it? It's going to be
an artifact. Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh.
That's my sketched out cover, and even on his cigarette, I've put absolute shower. So there's a little bit of typography, nuances going on, and I'm thinking Alex Toth style illustrations, so very sparse black and white that would hold up to that sort of printing on newsprint. There's graphic novels or comics that have pushed it, things like Mouse, where it is of a different format. Oh my goodness, my brain's gone dead. The begins with P, that they turn into a movie. It's on my bookshelf upstairs. Marius.
Well, wait, go ahead.
Sappho. Not Persephone, not Parlophone.
No,
But it was
I
a-
know which one you're talking about.
It's
The
a
one
very
from
famous book about the Middle East.
Persepolis. This is on mine. Persepolis.
yes.
Thank you. Sorry.
I'm the
No,
only
it's on
one
my
who had
shelf
no
too,
clue.
but it's too
Here
far
we go.
away.
I'm the only one who had no clue. Everyone else,
Yeah,
oh
it
yeah, I
actually
think I
won,
know it. I'm just
best,
sitting here going,
There we
best-
go. So
Yeah,
Persepolis,
There
it
we
won the
go.
Academy Award.
again, which is,
Yeah.
you know, a very interesting format.
Mhm.
Obviously, manga
Mhm.
Yeah.
is done in a different way. I think we just wanted, as Ben
I gotta
said
yeah.
quite rightly, it's an artifact. It's going to be a mixture of design, typography,
Love it.
lifted images. I'm also hopefully just going to put in 7 movie posters, like you
Oh,
get in a
nice.
movie book. So we'll choose them quite wisely.
Yeah.
We have quite a tight turnaround on this, so I've got to be very sort of creative with the artwork and the way we're going to do it. I was hoping I might try and spoof. So one of the ideas is to spoof like a is it Ronald Searle that created Centrinians?
Yes, it was Ronald Searle.
I think it was
Absolutely, it was
Searle.
Searle. It
So
wasn't
maybe
Scar,
try
it
and
was
do a
Searle.
Centrinia style drawing, maybe adapting a scene out of the Blue Murder.
I think the point is, mate, we would chat about this. Every way you look at it, you come up with ideas. Every time you think about Terry Thomas, something pops in your mind. There's so much. There's so much to draw from. So many references. So many inferences. So many photo. You know, I can't see why it wouldn't be of interest to people who are looking to just either find out more about him or already love him. And I can tell you, we know that there is a large amount of people out there who. For them, it would be nice for them to have a little book they could pick up. And other people, we're going to be reinforcing the point that he should not be forgotten. He must not be forgotten. Very important guy.
Because as we were saying earlier, you know, Talking Pictures in the UK will snap this up. There's going to be absolutely no reason why they didn't want me and Ben and Richard on there to talk about
it. Well, potentially. I mean, I was going to say, so you asked me about Richard. He's been a man in pictures himself for 50 years because he's been in theatre, he's been a director, he's been a producer, he's been a manager of theatres. He's got lots of interest. I mean, he must be, I think he's approaching 80, but he's been one of these people, again,
he likes to say he's early 70s.
Has energy and has an interesting life. And that draws me to people as well, you know?
Yeah. And as I said, when I was talking to him, everything he was saying was just a chapter from the book. But what the actual 7 chapters are going to be, hopefully if it's going to work, is Richard's recollection of Terry Thomas, how he set up, because he did a charity gala in Terry's honour when he was still alive, that raised an absolute fortune for Terry and Parkinson's. And it's that sort of thing. And he was like going, and then Jack Douglas was there. And Jack Douglas said, so Jack Douglas is one of the Carry On actors. So he actually helped to curate this. So Richard put it on with Jack Douglas. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's not also, it's also nice that we got this inroad to Terry Thomas. It's not just us picking some random name out of the book, the hat. You know, we've got this nice, and I'm going to hopefully, start the story on his deathbed. You know, so it's that sort of classic storytelling thing, and that's what we know. We know that Richard was there. There's photographs of him sat next to him, and I'm kicking myself. I can't remember the actor that was Richard's godfather that was sat with him. I'm kicking myself. He's got. Oh, sorry, Thorley Walters. It was Thorley Walters.
Yeah. That's right. So it's about time. I think we just say so. That's Terry Thomas.
Yay!
Oh yes, if you didn't know, it just.
Yeah, and on the back page, there's Terry Thomas.
That's exactly.
That's a great picture. That's a great picture.
Yeah, and you know, every picture tells a story, but what's the story? Because there's the man behind the pictures as well. And it is devastating when you understand the end of the man's life, as opposed to the zenith, you know. And we're not going to give it away necessarily, but Andy starts the book with that. And there are some very famous photographs, which if you were to Google them, they're quite upsetting, actually. They're, you know, it's not a pleasant look, really, considering how groomed and magnificent he truly was.
He was always perfect.
Yeah.
Whatever
Even
character
though
he
he
was playing
was
was just always imperfect.
Yeah,
he was very
gap in the teeth, for example. That's just fantastic, isn't it? Today it would be.
Oh, you must
sorted out,
fix
wouldn't
that. Don't have that gap in that teeth.
Yeah.
Who would ever like that? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What is wrong with people?
So yeah, we're going to be. Well, Andy's got the hard job of actually producing the book. We're going to work out when it's going to be scheduled for our fundraiser. We've got a lot of marketing to do and a lot of making inroads into these groups of people, etc., to get the promotion going. But I'm absolutely buzzing. We've got, as far as the 77 are concerned, on our timeline, we've just obviously finished the Ian Gibson, which was great. We've got 3 more weeks of John Wagner's, and then I can kind of steer my energy and attention to this project. So hopefully Andy will have more work in the sort of production. And you are going to be meeting up with Richard again, isn't it? Because you're kind of, do you want to explain where you guys live? Because that kind of helps geographically, Andy.
Yeah, so Richard lives, strangely, he lives at the end of where my daughters live, in Bristol. So at the end of the road, so in the same sort of street, if you like, in Cottam in Bristol, and I live 1 city along in Bath. So it's a 7-minute train ride,
Nice.
or 11 or whatever, depending how fast it goes. So I can be door to door in.
And it's funny because we've got all these connections. So Andy and I have only known each other for 3 years, but he lives on the road where I went to school. Sorry, his daughters live on the road where I went to school, Cottam Grammar. He lives in the same city as my sister lives. So my sister lives just at the edge, east side, called Bath Easton. Up on the hill there is Jane Seymour, who was a major part of Richard Hope-Hawkins' life. She had a beautiful property up there. And features in some films as well. So Richard, the story with the family is that Richard was known to my dad. My dad was a celebrity, a boxing celebrity, a professional fighter in the same city of Bristol in the 60s. He was very much a man kind of his time in terms of the press always wanting to know what he was up to and this and that. And another gentleman started making a name for himself, not quite in the end of the 60s, but 5-10 years later, a very famous chef from Bristol called Keith Floyd. And Keith Floyd is quite a bon vivant. It was on his TV shows, always had a glass of red wine, always was very, theatrical. Anyway, Richard was his first maitre d' in the restaurant. And my dad supplied Keith with his first range oven. Okay. And Keith's son, Patrick, is my best man at my wedding and is connected via kind of godfathery sort of things as well. So I've known Richard for 50 years. And Richard gave the eulogy at my father's funeral. And it wasn't because of all of this I'm doing. It just seems interesting that we've been tagging along all this time.
Yes.
And then he's got other interests as well. He's trying to locate his father on his great uncle on one of the World War I battlefields. It's called Fromelles, and it's basically known as an Australian battle against the Germans. And it's the place where DNA sampling has started to identify the unknown soldiers.
Oh, wow.
And misplaced. And Richard is in part of a 10-year program. In fact, it's been filmed, and he has a patron is the king. So King Charles is a patron of his charity. And Camilla and Charles have visited the site every year. I think Richard is going out in a couple of weeks, isn't he, Andy? Do you know that? I think he goes out in July.
Jeez.
So he's not young himself, but he's still so actively involved in so many things. And I kind of felt as soon as we were chatting and I got speaking to him saying, I'm going to be in Bristol doing Lawless. It'd be nice to catch up. We got chatting about this and that. And he just dropped this thing about Terry Thomas and this book he's been working on and stuff. And I just had this kind of like moment. And I just went, okay, work in progress. I'm just going to go and chat to someone, and literally got on the phone to Andy. And that was where it was. And then we met up a week later at Lawless, and it's just been, it's an obvious thing that it should be done. Pardon me, it should be done because it's got its own momentum now.
Yeah.
So, you know,
We call that
sometimes
an
you have projects
organic
to do that.
process.
There you go,
It
Vicky.
just,
Yeah.
it happened, it's moving.
Yeah.
It just, it's the universe to create it.
Yeah.
I think it sounds fabulous.
I mean, Richard's been working on various biographies and books, and obviously, as we all know, to get something like that published and done can be very complicated.
Yes.
Whereas if it's a group of friends, as it were, in a position like myself and Ben are in, that we can make it happen.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, from
we just shook hands,
at the
didn't we,
end of
Andy? We all
May.
just shook hands at the hotel, didn't we? That's all
Yeah.
he wanted. He
Oh,
said,
that is
gentleman's
awesome.
agreement. Gentleman's agreement.
You know, I mean, we can't promise any money for anyone, but who knows? It might just go absolutely crazy, and it might get picked up by Penguin, going, "Why have you copied our format? And why have we?"
I think we should be super cheeky. I think we, instead of calling it Bodley Head, we'll call it Headley Bodley, Headley Bodley or something, you know, because that's the name of the original press organization, publisher. Or Penguin could obviously turn into Albatross.
Guillemot.
There you go, Albatross.
I like that,
Get your
Albatross.
Albatross here. Bloody flavored
Well, you could
Albatross.
say Puffin, but that's their children's publishing arm, isn't it? Puffin.
I will find something, you know.
What we're saying is we're coming at this with a. It's not tongue in cheek as such. It's with a love and a passion, but also with a sort of cleverness and a bit of wit, and we're sort of.
Which doesn't that just fit the subject matter?
Yes.
You know,
I mean,
smart
it's
and
so
sassy,
very
knowing, almost not sexy. That's a late 20th century notion, isn't it? I don't know what was the word for sexy back in the day. I don't know what it was, but
debonair, suave.
Debonair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Suave.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and there's again, if people are interested, get on Google, put in Terry -Thomas.
Yes, don't forget the hyphen.
Because he was Thomas Terry.
Yes.
And messed around with it. Google it, and you'll find it photographs with him with Doris Day, and just tons and
everybody.
tons and tons.
Anybody who was anybody in the 50s and 60s. He did a film with them, even into the 70s, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And it just, I mean, it's really weird if you start looking at the list and suddenly like, oh, I know that movie and that movie and that movie and that movie. And
but I think what unfortunately happened is that the work didn't dry up, but his health started to dip.
Yeah.
When he found, I think the Parkinson's was in the 70s, and he was taking jobbing roles where he'd fly out to Italy, not even know really what the movie was, do his bit and go again. So it was that sort of, instead of being a consummate artist towards, the end, but he did end up in one of my favorite films called Vault of Horror. Do you remember Vault of Horror, the Amicus movie? It's a portmanteau one. Tom Baker's in it.
Okay, I've got to look up that one now.
And it's the mum from Mary Poppins is his love interest.
Oh,
so he's a bachelor. So Terry Thomas is the bachelor, and he marries the daughter of a friend of his, and she moves in, and she sort of spills wine on his carpet and moves things around. And because it's an EC horror story,
right
at the very end, poor Terry Thomas
don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Gets a comeuppance.
I think it's going to be magnificent. It's like I've just lit the fuse paper.
Yeah.
And I'm standing back, and this other guy's about to go whoosh.
And also because I've got quite a large comic art collection, I've got feats of 1950s and 60s British humor comics, and one of them is a Terry Thomas strip. So I've got that upstairs.
Oh my gosh!
So an original piece of pen and ink, alongside lots of other stuff. So it's going to be, as Ben and I sort of as he just said, is we've lit the blue touch paper. We've got a direction we're going in, but we're working out the plan as we go, you know, and as we get more text and stuff from Richard, we can add that to the book. I'm going to scan in various clippings. And I mean, Richard, when we met him, bless him, gave us have you got it in the book? It's like a little compliment slip that says from the desk of Terry Thomas.
Yes, I have.
Have you got that in there?
I've also got this little publication, which is a small photostat from inside the book.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like he's given us sort of mementos as well. It's charming, absolutely charming. It is.
Yeah, he dedicated the book to us when he gave us each a copy of the book. It was just such a, but we'd had, as I said, we were at Lawless and we'd had a fantastic 2 days. There we go.
Look at that. From the mind
of Terry Thomas. Sorry, from the mind art. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's lovely, isn't it? And that's just a little sign slip inside the book. And so we're dealing with a gentleman as well. Richard is a gentleman. The book is about gentlemen. It's,
as I say, that the printed text of the book is actually Richard's recollections. So what he doesn't really, which he probably does understand, but it's part of his memoirs. So it's lots of layers going on. So it's not only going to be an artifact about a Hollywood icon, it's also about a guy from Bristol that was well known in his, you know, in the West Country of England. And, you know, and lots of people knew him, but we're also going to push that forward as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully there'll be names in there that people will just be Googling, going, well, who is this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, there's one story Richard was telling us where Phil Collins of Genesis phoned him, I think he said from France or Australia or wherever Phil Collins was, and said, yeah, I'm a massive Terry Thomas fan, how can I help? And there was lots of people going, we're massive Terry Thomas fan, we hear he's down on his luck. He basically used the last of his fortune to try and get a cure for the awful disease, and as we know there isn't one, because it's the same one that Michael J. Fox has got, isn't it?
Same one Michael J. Fox has,
and
doesn't Billy Connolly, I think, has it too.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sadder for Michael J. Fox because he was a far younger man.
Yeah.
He was very young when his symptoms started showing. Yeah.
You know, and so we've just got this brilliant. Again, Ben has just pulled a blinder. I mean, he's pulled the strings. The puppet master pull the strings.
I was about to do that.
Pull the strings, and he can just sit and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Whereas I've got 60 pages to somehow rattle together.
Yeah, you've got the hard work to do. I've just got to talk about it. So, mate, that's kind of just appeared on your landscape. But obviously, you know that there will be more publications coming up for the stuff that we're involved in, and including the titles behind us. I don't like kind of putting people on the spot here, but apparently, Andy, it's possible that Haunted 3 will be the next comic to come rumbling off the production line.
Ooh.
You see, well, when we were at Lawless, so there's the siblings, aren't there, that do one does Pandora, one does Haunted, and Jo Heeley was like, yeah, I've got enough on my plate and whatever, and by the end of Lawless she's like, I'm gonna get it out before you. Before you, Heeley. Before you.
I love a good sibling rivalry.
That's my interpretation of it, but it was pretty much. But yeah, I think Haunted's probably going to rattle through next. But they're a joy to work on. I mean, I've got Dave sent me a 4-page script that he'd like me to have a look at. And, you know, as soon as we get the green light, I'll fast track it and get it done.
Sweet.
But we've got so many I mean, can I talk about something non-77 related briefly?
No, mate, of course.
Totally, this is all-
you've
yes,
literally
this is
how
everything.
many.
We want to hear
You've
about
got
it
a few
all.
days left. Is you want to talk about Gravestown, yeah, or something else entirely?
No. Well, yeah, that's another one. That's just finished on Kickstarter.
And what about Memphis? I just heard. Yeah, well, we'll get to that. Okay.
I was at Lawless on the Sunday, and the Time Bomb guys were in the other room. So we were in the main room, and then there's the ante room, sort of the room off the main room where the sort of dealers and the other guys are. And Dave Morris, who's one of the main Time Bomb guys, went, "Oi, you! I want a word with you." I went, "What? What have I done?" I went, "Come here. We're going to print with Quantum 2 on Tuesday. We're still inking one of the pages. Any chance you can colour 4 pages?" This is Sunday morning. So this is Sunday morning. "Any chance you can colour me 4 pages by Tuesday morning?"
Ouch.
And it was a bank holiday Monday. So that's what
you did on your holiday.
made me...
And how's Mrs. Richmond at the moment?
Yeah. So...
Giving you yet?
So he was still inking, or his colleague Patrick was sat at the desk at the Comic Con inking this page. When I got home, then after I had this discussion, we went and had a meeting with Richard to talk about Terry-Thomas. And then I sat with some friends and had a couple of beers in the hotel bar. And it got to about 5:30, 6. So I got home about 7, put the baby to bed, loaded up the iPad, started the colouring. Monday morning, I woke up at 4, came downstairs and put in 4 hours before everyone woke up. Then my eldest daughter came to visit, and I kept squeezing it in. I kept saying, "I've just got 1 minute. I'm just..."
And she's like, "Yeah, Dad, I know."
Then we put the baby to bed, and I did another 3 hours, and then woke up again at 4, finished it, sent it off, and it's in the shops on Thursday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I
that was
just got to say to those Time Bomb guys, they've got the newest comic out in those shops, and congratulations.
Yeah.
It's Quantum is
it is what it is. It's a British comic. It's it's coming from the indie scene. It's obviously done on I think the mistake some of these comics have made over the years is where they'll have an unlimited budget and they'll get loads of artists and people involved and promise the moon on a stick, and then just flop because they can't make the money back. I think Steve and the guys are very solid business head. They've been doing this for much longer than us for the publishing. Yeah. I mean, I think Time Bomb's over 10 years now. And he got Spectrum in the shops last summer. Did you come across that?
The Jerry Anderson thing. Yeah.
The Jerry Anderson, but they weren't allowed Jerry Anderson properties.
Oh. I didn't know that.
It was Captain Scarlet, but it wasn't 60s Captain Scarlet. It had to be the 90s or the reboot of Captain Scarlet. So they'd only give him a few. So it was Space Precinct?
Yeah. That's one of his titles.
That was one that they had. Yeah. And I think Terrorhawks. So it was sort of, a limited amount of properties that they're allowed to use. And then they've gone and done Quantum. And apparently I'm the regular colorist of Memphis now.
Yay.
Moving forward. Don't really want to be a colorist, but as I was saying earlier, find it hard to say no. I've colored hundreds and hundreds of pages in the last couple of years, quite literally. I mean, I was the color artist on Harker, which is a 60-page comic for Time Bomb, and we did 3 of those. So that's 180 that I did. So they knew I was reliable.
Right.
But it was, again, it's nice to be asked. It was, we're all on I think it's because we were on a high because it was Lawless and all our mates were all together.
Yeah.
And I got that.
Yeah, but I think you should always aim at a convention, Andy. I think you should aim to do 3 things. I think you should aim to sell stuff.
Yeah.
have a good time, you know, meet and chat and talk to people, and hopefully go away with more projects than you turned up
Yes.
with.
Yeah.
I think that's
So I
That
went
makes
away.
perfect sense.
I went away with the Memphis gig, which I did within a day, and then the TT gig, which is now under, and that was all from that weekend. And we were getting, you know, I was putting lots of people that I know in front of people like Dave and Jo and Ben. So my friend Grant turned up with his portfolio, and hopefully doing strips for both Haunted and Pandora. Yeah, so it was a really good,
yeah,
a really good vibe. But as Ben says, the publishing schedule for the 77 is fluid. It's almost like who shouts the loudest? Who can commit to
for
doing
sure.
that?
I mean, the title comic itself, the 77, has been somewhat, you know, not pushed back, but we have to understand that it was a calling card comic at the beginning. It kind of got everybody to the yard as such.
Yeah.
So we're not looking to continue the 4 times a year schedule, because guess what? We've got 3 other titles plus other individual projects turn up. So
yeah,
it won't be quite as regular, but yeah, absolutely. That's why there's Andy. We have 2 art editors. I mean, Andy does the 3 behind us, and Brendan does the 77 and the annual specials and the guest books as well. So he's doing Gibson, and that's because we all realize that everyone has, it's not a question of talents, it's just they only have a certain amount of time available.
Yes.
And I think if you get used to a title and what it represents and how you work with it, then it becomes your own anyway. And that's what we want to have very, very clear. Sorry, I'm probably speaking on your behalf, Andy. I don't know.
I love it. It's great.
Do you agree that we want to have very different IDs and, you know, you're reading a different comic, aren't you? It's
well, with the three books that I work on, I try and there is a theme running through them stylistically, but not so much Blazer, but Haunted and Pandora to me is sort of almost like sister titles. So it's a very similar graphic design, whereas Blazer is obviously based in the 1970s. So it's you know, it's an homage to battle and to action.
Yeah.
And all those wonderful comics and everything, Hotspur, loads of them. But yeah, so I and that's one of my strengths, one of my many hats that I can wear. And it's a ball. Yeah, and also we've got in Bristol in October, a chap called Mike Allwood is bringing back the Bristol Comic Expo. So for years,
legendary conventions, weren't they? The Bristol
in the UK, the only Comic Con for years in the 90s and the noughties was the Bristol one. Then obviously people started to copy them, and there was London and Birmingham and all manner of other ones, but it's this Bristol one. And he asked me to design him the logo. So I know Mike, so I ended up designing the logo for it and any other sort of collateral that he wants. And he's got me down as a guest. And the 77
nice.
Very nice.
The main guest is a chap called Alan Davis, the Captain Britain, Excalibur artist. Not Alan Davies, which is
the comedian,
Jonathan Creek.
Right. No. I used to read Captain Britain.
He does the big books, doesn't he? He does the big titles as Alan Davis. I can't remember, but he's done
Avengers and
yeah.
And he's a DR and Quinch he created or co-created in 2000 AD, which is a phenomenal. Harry of High Rock was a very early one of his, and he's the main guest. So we've got that, and we're hoping to have titles and books to launch then, is the plan.
Are you doing any of the others that we're turning up to, Andy? We're doing because we're kind of putting them on the calendar now that we generally usually do them. So Lycaf and Thought Bubble at the end of the year.
So there's Thought Bubble, Lakes.
Yeah, I'm doing in 2 weeks' time. I'm doing the London Film Comic Con.
Yeah.
That's a monster. I'm a bit scared about that.
I don't know how much oxygen they're going to have in that place just to get the artists in. I think there's like 80 comic creators.
Oof.
You know, that's a lot.
Well, funny
It's gonna
enough,
be a lot
Andy,
of
we're
hot
not
air.
even on Artist Alley. We're a general retailer now. We've got the retailer spot.
Ooh,
So
right.
we had to pay a
Interesting.
different amount. Yeah, because because of the name of the firm, we're the 77 Publications. It doesn't exactly sound like an artist, does it?
no.
So you pay a top price, but you kind of. I'm not saying that the Artist Alley is in any way disadvantaged at all, and LFCC will be common with a lot of the other shows that they have well signposted and directed areas where you will find this stuff. But I've checked in today with them, and they're saying, no, we see you as a retailer, you're a publisher, so you're with the big boys. I'm like, okay.
Oh, Lord.
The big
Woo!
boys.
I know. I hope they're nice to me and don't steal my lunch money.
Don't steal your lunch money.
But it
That's
is.
your
It's kind of
nose.
weird. You kind of like, you forget sometimes that it's more than just you.
Right.
There's Andy and Brendan and Steve and Joe and
Yeah.
Dave and all of our 40. I don't know, Andy. I don't know if you ever. I mean, you must get confused yourself with the other titles you're involved with. But I probably we work alongside 40, 50, 60 other people probably.
I mean,
Wow.
even at Lawless, we had about a dozen 77ers at the table, wasn't there? There was loads of people just turning up, and that was just in one little place. But at the big London one, you've got guys like Simon Bisley. So someone like Bisley, you want to be as far away as him as possible.
He definitely will steal my lunch money. Yeah, definitely. You heard it here, guys. Simon Bisley steals my lunch money.
There you go.
Well, I meant that he's going to have a lot of people, of a big queue.
Yes.
It's these. They're not even elder statesmen, but they are now. These guys are in late 50s, 60s. I mean, Glenn Fabry was, at Lawless, and they're getting on a bit. I don't know. I think we're all.
I think we all are.
Pretty good for,
I think we all are
guilty of
getting
that.
on it. Okay, I won't
I
say.
think Andy's looking good for 25 as well. He's looking all right.
Actually, this month I'm 55.
Yeah, I think there's a picture up in the attic, mate. I think.
Oh, wait a
my
minute.
55th.
You say this month you're 55?
Yeah.
Next July, I'll be 1 year older than you. So I'm
You'll be
11 months older.
56.
Yeah, 56.
So we'll both be 55 for a week.
Yeah, pretty much.
Vicky, you don't need to get involved in this conversation. It's
Yeah,
fine.
Vicky,
I'm
we're
only
not
2
counting
years
it.
younger.
No, we never ask a lady. I'd never ask a lady.
It's something
So
that
I'm an elder
I've said before.
statesman now? I'm an elder statesman? Cool.
Oh.
The elder statesman of MarkWHO77. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I want to be called an elder statesman. Not when the last lawyer I hired was the same age as my son. And I was like, no, that's not possible.
No.
My son's not
no.
old enough.
Oh, God.
Apparently he is.
Yeah, but as I've said before, that I think we all, as I was alluding to, we do have a limited time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'll ever be able to finish every single story I've got in my head now.
Yeah.
I'm not a 20-year-old, so we have to pick and choose. And as soon as something like the TT opportunity comes, that just goes to the top.
I'm just so pleased, mate, that it got its resonance from you, because it could have. I don't know what had happened if the seed had fallen on the stony ground. Not with you, but in terms of general, it might not have seen the light of day. And isn't that fascinating? That make you think in a little bit existentialist way, that how many projects just don't get steered to the right people at the right time.
Yes. I think that epitomizes the 77, is that there are so many right time, right place, right people that all it would have taken is one decision, one left turn that you maybe should have taken a right turn on. And what would be different?
I feel, Vicky, I think it's like, you've read most of our catalogue now. That I wouldn't say that every single story is as strong as another, for example, or every single story has had as much time and attention lavished on it. Some have been put away and may come back another day because we are an anthology series.
Right.
But, you know, for example, a strip that Andy's been involved in, which I'm not sure if it's Andy. You'll have to help me out because Steve doesn't always tell me what's going on in the annual. Is Penny Pentagram turning up in the annual again? What's
She
happening with
is.
Penny?
She
You
is.
work with Dave Thomas, who created Penny Pentagram.
Yeah.
Now there's a character in case she could have her own comic, no trouble.
Yeah.
No
Right.
trouble at all.
Yeah.
Quite easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing that stops a lot of projects is because people talk about something they don't understand, which is money.
Yes.
People feel that they have to say, I will do it for £100 a page.
Yeah.
Okay. Work that out. First of all, if you do £100 a page and you do a 20-page comic strip, you have to declare the tax on that. It's no longer a hobby.
Right.
No longer a little side hustle. The alarm bells will go. So people, so for instance, if this TT book, if I said to Ben, I want £100 a page, it's 60 pages, that's £6,000. Like, well, that's not even going to get off the floor. Let's be aware of money, but let's not talk about it. Let's get the project going. It's like if you're in a band, you know, you do what, you know, at the end of the day, you do want your beer money, you do want your petrol money, your gas money. And it'd be nice to, you know, put a couple of quid aside, but you don't do it for that reason. We do, you know, myself and Ben, and there's quite a few of other of us that just do it for the absolute kick. Being able to create these beautiful books and comics and then diversifying into, you know, into this artifact that we're going to create for Terry Thomas, the Terry Thomas
It's an
project.
interesting thing when you hear people talk about big budgets. And big budgets, there are many big budget movies that I absolutely love. But then you get, you know, sometimes a big budget just can't save something. It doesn't have the same passion. It's more about let's make sure that we can make enough money back so that we can pay everything. And they lose the sight of the passion. When you have those passion projects, you see it in indie films, indie books, indie comics, that it's more about the product and you getting your points across. And whether you're an artist or a writer or both, and it says, I want this story to go out there in the universe. And hey, if I make a few bucks, great. If I don't, my life is out there. My blood is out there. My soul is out there.
Yeah.
And it's a weird balancing act that I think you see in every medium. I've
seen and I've heard where people are offering, Kickstarter publishers are offering, you know, quite a, you know, 50 quid, 100 quid a page or whatever. It's like, that's not right. The money isn't there. That's fake. You know, what you've got to look, and it's like, if a Kickstarter brings in £6,000, I mean, something like the Ben's just worked on for Ian Gibson, obviously was a massive project, and you know, it was for a reason it made that much money.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, I mean, with the going, you know, you mentioned Graystown. I mean, it is a passion project. I mean, I've done 3 books for the Ariel Press guys this year alone. 3 full-length books of 24 plus pages. And it's, you know, paid for itself, paid for the printing and the distribution. But I will do another because I enjoy doing it.
You said you'd need to start saying no, and I'm not talking about projects that you're doing, but what makes you say yes then, Andy? What is it that what is the yes decision? How does that factor for you?
Usually the collaborator. It's down to the collaborator themselves. If I trust that person and if I want to work with that person, I do that with David Thomas. We've got quite a few projects that we're currently working on that we can't talk about that are for majors, big, potentially.
Wow.
And we can't talk about them. But there's stuff always bubbling. I think it's because, as we were saying earlier, if you're a go-to guy, if you're a busy guy, you'll always be busy. if you're a lazy guy, you want to be, you know, if you want to sit on the sofa and play video games and smoke and, you know, eat Cheetos.
Hey, there are some people who make a career of that, though.
Yeah, and then sit online and say, I've got this great idea, I've got this amazing idea, I'm going to do this amazing idea. It's going to be amazing. And then they put a drawing up or something up, and then you never hear from it again.
Yeah.
Whereas it's funny, isn't it? This whole notion as well, mate. I don't know if you saw this chat. It was in one of our circles. Someone put up something along the lines of, have you noticed it's always the real hard workers who make the luck?
Yeah.
If you're not in the game, you're not there to pick up the loose thing or the pass which is made to you, or the opportunity which you wouldn't have heard about. And I made a decision about 5 years ago when I was going through a redundancy process, et cetera, looking to sort of, new emphasis on what I was doing. I said to myself, I'm going to give myself a year to do that thing about would I be an artist still? So I bought myself, mate, you'll find this quite funny, Andy. I bought myself an AO old-fashioned drawing, parallel.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It came from a drawing school down the road. I picked it up for nothing. So I sat there for literally, I was being paid each month on gardening leave, not to do anything, couldn't go to work, couldn't talk about work. It was a whole thing, anyway, I took the opportunity, cleared my head, did all this stuff. I got some great fun. I copied some art. I did some of this. I tried to do some page setups. And at the end of it, the time I was thinking about sitting over the drawing board gave me the idea for the 77.
Right.
It wasn't doing nothing. It was doing something else, but doing it to the best that you could.
Yeah.
So often I think is that it's not fishing time. Fishing time isn't always productive. I'm not one of those people who can cast a rod and then come up with a great idea. I have to be actually involved in some industry in that sense. It has to be something where I'm trying to work something through, not forget about stuff, or, So the busier I get, the more ideas we get. And I'm sure, Andy, you're the busiest guy I know. So there must be thousands of things going on. Yeah. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm just going to put that's a list that I made.
I'm taking a shot at this, by the way.
I'm not going to show you. It's not going to be a proper thing, but it's just to give a clue. That was just this year. And there's even something on here that this gentleman here.
Yeah, I see that gentleman. Not here.
When he said,
this guy here.
You're Doctor Who. You're Doctober. Why can't I do it?
No, okay, you totally brought out my last. Not that I can do it. Just talk about
you heard it here, guys. Doctober.
Well,
talk about Doctober. I don't care if I'm doing it or not. Talk about Doctober.
In October, I'll somehow draw the world's worst robots. Aren't they?
Oh, we are going for robots. Good. Okay.
I love it.
So Mark sent me a list of 40 Doctor Who robots. And some of them are very bad, aren't they?
And some of them are really impossible to draw. But I still, hey,
it's what's the one in there's one in Palladium, isn't it? Or one of the earlier ones where it's a square thing standing on a column and it kind of moves about,
Yeah.
It's got a point.
Yeah.
The Quark?
Yeah, it's the Quark.
Yeah, from the Dominators. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got.
And then there are the Chumleys. The Chumleys from anyway.
You've got a family connection with K9, which I always go on about.
I love K9.
Oh yes.
Yeah, well, my mum's first husband created it with Bob Baker, so that's the.
There you go.
So, my favourite one was when I first saw the Ark in space. Was it the first time that we saw the Cybermats, the little guys that run around zipping on the floor?
I think so.
The Cybermen, they're kind of like
the Cybermats first appeared in the moon base.
Oh,
if I'm correct.
There you go.
They were getting the grain and stuff, poisoning the grain by
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know too much about Doctor Who, folks. I'm sorry.
It's like, if you don't know anything about Doctor Who, you don't know about it. Who's going to know? It's almost like you just sat there just going, look, I'm just not going to say it. I know it. I know it. Don't embarrass myself.
Okay.
But yeah,
It's
so there's
never
an-
embarrassing to know your genres.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank
Hey,
you, Vicky, for that.
I love my
appreciate that.
fandoms. You know, hell, I even have a pair of canine slippers that I wore to Gallifrey 1. in
Are you
February.
serious? Wow.
They're up in the closet again with the rest of my cosplay, but
That's cool.
Do they have little ears and stuff on them?
yes, it's got a little floppy head that goes in the front. And then the body goes around my feet. Luckily, I have very small feet, so it works
when
perfectly.
you put them on your feet, do they go affirmative, mistress?
No, they don't make any noises. It's the only downside. But it was great because I use an electric scooter, and I've got it, and they're sticking out the sides, and everyone loved them. Even Jodie Whittaker made a joke about my slippers.
Well, that's cool then.
So,
okay. All right. We are running down to the final moments of this episode of MarkWHO77. I want to ask Vicky and Ben if they have any final questions.
Oh, that's a tough one. Oh,
it always is.
Maybe
this is the toughest question in the whole interview. Maybe not the who is.
Asker than the
who
answerer.
Are you, Vicky?
Who is
I'm a lover.
Vicky?
I'm a fighter.
You know,
Vicky
I
is
gotta tell you something.
An insane fangirl who just loves all of this.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we've got to talk with you, Andrew, for a couple of times because I love your art. As a matter of fact, I just received a few interesting things in the mail.
Hold on. I gotta get mine.
There we go, Mad Girl as well.
Yes.
Where is it? I got the shift. I know that's not well, but I got a lot of things in the mail in the last couple of days.
Oh, that's good. I'm really pleased about that. The mail is working.
This comic is haunted.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now it's funny because when they show up, if I happen to be home, my husband will come back in and he'll say, "Oh, you got another package," and he's like, "I know you want to see those ones from Britain really fast."
What's interesting?
Yes, I do.
What's interesting when mine arrives, because it's coming international, but the final length is the United States Postal Service. And when they deliver something too big to put in the box, instead of putting it inside the screen door in a nice place, they just leave it on the lawn. And if it starts raining, which it does in South Florida, it's luckily then you wrap them in plastic.
Yeah.
You wrap them in plastic.
They're not wrapped in plastic, but the comics inside are wrapped in plastic.
Yes.
Right. Well, right.
Yeah,
So
they're in bags inside. I'm starting to get worried now. But you want me to put
I've got
make sure
it's
it's in some kind of plastic. Yeah.
Wonderful shape. Nothing has come messed up. And I love it because, it just, look at this stuff.
Yeah.
This is fabulous.
Yeah.
And I've been taking it to work and sharing it around. So it's like, soon maybe I can get some more converts. So, but I just, so you brought it up. Last question. How is that sketch a day still going? And good Lord, how many sketches have you done now?
Yeah, I wake up every morning. Open up my either Facebook or Twitter, and on the top post is your artwork for the day. Love it.
So I'm very lucky that I've developed a way of drawing that is rapid. When I first started doing them 10 years ago, I was, far more meticulous. I'd pencil them out and I'd do all this and try and get it spot on. Now I'm literally learned it's about making a mark, putting a piece, something down and getting rid of it. And it's actually done me a lot of good to do the daily sketches.
Sweet.
It's difficult because you have to make sure you do it. If I leave it too late in the day,
right,
you start getting a little bit of withdrawal. I've not done it and I'm not going to miss it.
And your fingers are going, must do drawing.
Yeah. And then I'll do a little bit of coloring for something else on the iPad, or I'll carry on doing another bit of penny pentagram, or we've got multiple projects on. I got contacted again today, a guy in a band that I did 8 pages of comics for his CD last year. and it went quiet. And that's actually through the 77 as well. That was Dave Heeley.
Wow.
In touch with a guy that he knew or knew of.
Oh, the robots fishing for robots, or someone else entirely? Sorry,
another one. So it's
Okay.
a rock band.
Ooh.
Again, I don't like talking about stuff until it's
Fair enough. You don't need to
Until it's done.
out there.
So it's done. Yeah.
You know, I believe that you shouldn't showboat. I mean, I could basically be putting something up every day. Look at this I've done. Look at this I've done. And it's like, well, you're doing that anyway. But it'd be like, yeah. I mean, when I did the quantum pages, I didn't say anything. I didn't put it up on Facebook. I was waiting for them to say.
Right. You didn't post it until like yesterday.
It's not my place.
Yeah.
You know, wait. If I'm doing a commission for someone, I'm not going to stick it on Facebook. I do numerous commissions, and it's up to the people that I do them for.
Right.
You know, it's yeah.
You
But
did a nice.
There's a lot in the pipeline.
Yeah, you did a nice commission for us on our ad.
Yeah,
you
Yes,
did
you
a
did.
great
Little
job of the
drawings.
4 of us. So.
I love it.
Now we need a redesign for MarkWHO77, Ben's face on it, and just
It's like if you
There
if
we
you went
go.
if a drug dealer gave you the first one for free, get your hooked.
What?
So yeah, you get that for free. You get one for free. Next one.
Oh no, this isn't for MarkWHO42. This is for MarkWHO77. It's completely different.
You have to put a hat on. Put your glasses on upside down or something.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's all pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And as Ben's saying, there's stuff developing with the 77. It'll be like, yeah, so Haunted, we're gonna take that live in end of June. We're doing what now?
Yeah, we're doing a theatre production. Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that. We go on the road.
And on that note, folks, we've got to go here on MarkWHO77. Before I say completely go, let me thank Lestat for the title sequence. We love Lestat Luchalibre's title sequence. And I want to thank myself. I always thank myself, Mark Baumgarten, Vicky Jakubowski, Ben Cullis, and our guest today, Andrew Richmond. So on behalf of all of us on MarkWHO77, as Banksy would say, until next time, stay lucky. See, I remembered it this time, Ben. Bye, everyone. Bye.